Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. We are delighted to have you all still be here to enjoy the last panel discussion today. Actually, the topic is one of the topic that I highlight in this panel discussion is about innovation. So I just saw to you that I make innovation by sitting in the left corner because the two session the moderator sit over there. So just so that this is one of the innovation that I make in this session. So the topic of the discussion is reinventing public sector practices, enhancing efficiency through public sector management innovation. I think this is quite interesting if we talk about public service, especially in government. As we know that I think started in 2003, 2004. The government of Indonesia initiated the reform, especially in state financial reform, by introducing three law number 1, number 17, and also number 15. And then the process of the transformation, of the reformation continually are expected to manage public fund efficiently and effectively. And also to demonstrate accountability, transparency, and long-term value creation. On the other hand, in the world that facing fiscal pressure and also digital disruption and sustainably imperative, government must transform their management model from compliance-oriented to perform and outcome-driven. Of course, if we talk about transformation, about reformation, so we also have to look at other country, what they have doing, so we can adapt or adopt the reform that already successful there. And the last but not least, we also look at the role of the auditor, especially external auditor, to periodically audit the development of the system and also to put emphasis to promoting the efficiency and effectively of how government manage the public fund. So we have three panelists. It is my honor to introduce the speakers. The first one is Mr. Rofianto Kurniawan. Selamat sore, Pak. Yeah. He's currently serve as the Director of Budget Planning, Pak, ya. Yeah. At the Directorate General of Budget, the Ministry of Finance of the Republic Indonesia. And the second one is Miss Novira Azra. She is Senior Financial Management Specialist, World Bank. And the third speaker is Mr. Ahmad Adib Susilo. He is Senior Advisor for Central Government Finance, Supreme Audit Board of Republic of Indonesia. So without further any discussion from me, so let me start our panel discussion by giving the time to Mr. Rofianto Kurniawan to give his presentation. The time is yours, Pak.
Datanya udah.
Harusnya ada sih. Bisa dipakai.
Jadi saya sering dengan Pak Ogul. Ada pensiun ya. Berarti bulan lalu dia WA saya. Pak bilang, saya udah pensiun nih.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak in this prestigious forum. And we would like to apologize that DG Budget could not attend this event because has another important agenda. So I have to represent the DG Budget. And this afternoon, we will discuss regarding reinventing the public sector, PFM reform, digital transformation, and budget strategy for high growth. Ladies and gentlemen, we should go to the budget cycle. Next. Okay. As we can see here, the budget process, budget cycle is very important. How we manage discipline in budget process, in planning and budgeting, in budget implementation, and then follow up by auditing for budget accountability is part of important process to be able to deliver good public service delivery. In budget planning, of course, already started, for example, for budget 2026, since this January 2025, year T-1. We started with the budget evaluation for the 2024, and then review budget 2024, and then came out with the resource envelope, and then allocation for the line ministry. In May, the parliament submitted to the parliament the pre-budget. We discussed the pre-budget in May, June, and finally in August, the president will submit budget law to the parliament. And for this year, the parliament already approved budget for 2026 in September. And by end of this December, the government will prepare the final report for budget implementation 2025, and then submit it to the Supreme Auditor in March 2026. Next. According to the Law 17 on state finance, the president holds the authority to manage state finance as part of the executive power. And referred to this paragraph, the authority has been delegated to the Ministry of Finance as the fiscal manager and also the government representative for the ownership of state asset. And then for the other function, for asset user and also for budget user, delegated to line ministry. Ministry of Finance serves two functions. The first function as the Chief Financial Officer. The Minister of Finance has the responsibility to prepare the budget, preparing the fiscal framework, drafting the budget law, and also acts as the State General Treasurer and collecting the money, collecting the taxes. And on the other hand, as Chief Operating Officer, like other line ministry, Minister of Finance also prepare the budget and also budget execution for the Ministry of Finance. Next, APBN has a fiscal role, has a fiscal very important role to achieve the development agenda, to achieve the development target. APBN has three functions. The first function is allocation. How the budget being allocated to sectoral priority to achieve the development target, to support the development, strengthen the development, and also to accelerate economic activity and creating employment. The allocation must be structured to be able productive to support the economy. In terms of distribution function, the money being divided to regional government. This is very important to support the development in the regions and also to be able to deliver public service delivery in the regions. And the third function is stabilization function. In this case, the budget has very important role to maintain price stability, especially basic commodity price stability and also energy stability. This price stability is very important to maintain purchasing power of the people, to maintain the welfare of the people. Next. And here are the milestones of Indonesia budgeting reform. As already mentioned by the moderator, we have 3 stages in the reform phase. The first budgeting reform started from 2003 to 2009 by enacted of Law Number 17, yes, State Finance Law, Treasury Law, and also Auditing Law. And then the key milestone is the implementation of a new budgeting approach. We start to implement united budgeting, medium-term expenditure framework, and also strengthening performance and budgeting. The second phase, between 2010 and 2019, starting by follow-up regulation, Government Regulation number 19 and Government Regulation number 17. In this phase, it is very important that we strengthen the standard cost for project activity, and also standard cost for line ministry activity to make budgeting more effective and efficient. And also, it is very important how we integrate monitoring and evaluation and providing reward and punishment for line ministry that able to achieve the development target. And then it is also important how we try to synergize between planning in Bappenas and budgeting in the Ministry of Finance, and also reformulation of medium-term expenditure framework. And also in the second phase, we start to digitize the process by introducing SPAN, SMART, 1DJA, and also Krishna for budget proposal. And for the third phase, starting from 2020 up to now, we introduce Government Regulation number 6, and also we would like to simplify the procedure for budget planning, budget execution, by introduce Omnibus MOF Regulation, PMK 62 2023. And also, we implement a redesign of planning and budgeting, try to streamline the budget process. Previously, we adopted around more than 400 program, reducing to only around 108 program to make more easier to be monitor and evaluate the program. And also we started to improve the quality of spending and strengthen to synergy between the central government, program implemented by Land Ministry, and the program implemented by the regional government, subnational government, and also strengthen medium-term expenditure framework. Next. We go to the structure of budgeting in Indonesia. There are several key approaches. The first approach is unified budgeting. It is very important that annual financial plan consolidated all expenditure types. And also we try to follow international standard, international government standard, implemented government financial statistic by classifying the budget into economic, functional, and organizational categories. Of course, the key instruments are performance indicator, strengthening cost standards, and also strengthening performance monitoring and evaluation. And then for performance-based budgeting, we try to link the funding for the measurement. We try to integrate the input, output, and the impact, the outcome of the budget execution. We still continue to strengthen the efficiency of resources and also try to measure the effectiveness of the impact. And also in the implementation, utilize the performance indicator, standard, and continuous evaluation. The objective is to make that budget allocation become more efficient and also line minister expenditure become more efficient. And for the medium-term expenditure framework, we try to maintain our budget sustain, aligned with budget strategy. This, of course, include with forward estimate and also strengthening baseline activity for the line ministry. We expected that quality of expenditure will increase, more efficient, effective, priority-driven, transparent, and also accountable. Next. It is very important that all performance indicators are established at each level of the budget hierarchy. Performance for the line ministry, performance for the program, performance for the activity, and also for the output. Cost standard regulate expenditure for each indicator. We implement input cost standard in which unit cost to calculate the cost of component to produce the output, and also output cost standard, predetermined cost for producing specific output or sub-output, and also the implementation of cost structure standard. Next, part of the improvement in the budget performance, it is very important to make a synergy between budget planning and budget execution as the starting point. The budget process will start with government work plan, RKP, and then follow up with line ministry proposal for project and also proposal for activity, and then follow up with budget allocation for the line ministry. Its planning and budgeting document maintain indicator continuity for consistent performance measurements. Next. Here are the results of our effort to improve budget effectiveness and efficiency. Our effort to improve transparency and accountability of the budget already produced positive result. Based on the open budget survey in 2023, Indonesia ranked number 20 out of 125 countries in the world in terms of budget transparency. And in Asia, Indonesia ranked number 3. Actually, in 2021, we able to reach rank number 2 after the South Korea. However, in 2023, Philippines made significant improvement to be able to pass Indonesia and South Korea. So, Indonesia in the number 3 position after Philippines and South Korea. Next. It is very important that in the budgeting system, we try to digitalize the process. In the financial management, information system will include a budget and treasury module that are linked or extended to other program. In this case, OMSPAN, online monitoring for treasury and also budget, will link to other module, such as MAN for state asset, CESA in custom and excise, e-filing for tax, and also Symphony for non-tax revenue. And the information system start from the budgeting process and add with reporting. All of the module will be integrated. And the system also record the target of revenue, revenue sharing, and also the expenditure, receiving transaction, and SPAN become the backbone of the financial management information system in Indonesia. Next. So we go to the overview of the budgeting application. In this process, we try to link the planning through Krishna in Bappenas with Sakti, budget allocation in the Ministry of Finance. These two programs already linked. So that means the line ministry, they don't have to submit 2 times. They have to submit for Krishna and then submit again to Sakti. So this is already integrated. Once they submitted the budget proposal in Krishna, already linked to Sakti. And then the budget execution will be monitored through SPAN, to look at their disbursement and also to look at their performance. Next. Now we go to the budget for 2026. To make budget more effective and efficient, it is very important that we should prioritize our allocation. For 2026, we have 8 priority agenda. The first agenda is the food security. It is very important that we could increase rice production, corn production, extended rice field in the Middle Indonesia and also East Indonesia. It is very important also if we could maintain energy resilience, energy sustainability by introducing or exploiting renewable energy and also try to increase the production for oil and also for gas to maintain our energy sustainability. The third program is free nutritive meal for students in high school and also elementary school, yeah. And also we try to improve the quality of education and try to maintain the health of people. The sixth priority is village development, cooperative, MSME. We hope that through cooperative in village, it could empowerment village economy, and also it could provide the capital for village people to start their activity, yeah. And then the seventh priority is the universal defense, and then the eighth priority is accelerating global investment and trade. This is very important if we want to achieve higher growth. We need more investment, not only from domestic, but also foreign investment to accelerate the development. And now this is the last slide, yeah. This is our budget for 2026. As we can see here, our revenue for 2026 is around 3,153 trillion, while our budget around 3,842 trillion. That means we implemented a budget deficit 689.1 trillion or 2.68% of GDP. We consider that this budget is optimized to support economic growth, yeah, and also to support government priority, yeah, the vision mission of the president, development target in 2026. That's why it is very important if we could implement 2026 budget in effective and efficient manner to achieve our target, economic target, and development target. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Rofianto. And please give a big applause to Mr. Rofianto. I think I'm not going to conclude what the substance of the presentation of from Mr. Rofianto, but I highlight some important point. First one is budgeting reform has been reached in the third phase since 2003 in terms of regulatory framework and then budget system with many achievement of key milestone. And the second one is Indonesia budgetary system has been transforming digitally with Krishna, Sakti, and SPAN as the backbone of the financial management information system. And to reach high growth of economy in 2026, the government of Indonesia formulates budget strategy in 8 priority agenda. Okay, please hold your question because we are going to listen to next presenter, and we invite Ibu Novira to present about the global perspective of public sector innovation, efficiency, government, and sustainability. Bu Novira, the time is yours, please.
Thank you, Pak Arief. So allow me to stand ya, Pak Arief. Thank you. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm here to represent Ibu Patricia McKinsey, who is not feeling well, to present the material that was given to us. So please bear with me. I'm filling up her big shoes. So firstly, next slide please. Firstly, we were given questions. Slide, please. Oh, okay. Ada di situ, Mbak. So there are 3 questions that we have to respond. The first one is, what investor trust and use clear performance narrative, consistent metrics, and timely insight that reduce uncertainty? And then the second question is, making large-scale transformation investable, governance, discipline, execution, and transparent progress indicators. And then the third one is, explain why accountants' integrity is a key differentiator that reduces investor uncertainty amid heightened scrutiny from financial statements, fraud, and corporate scandals. So let me start with the first one. Okay, investors want to see clear, honest, and structured insight into a government performance, strategy, and governance. So this is very clear. This is the first point. Secondly, financial performance and sustainable perspective, adopting accrual-based IPSAS, can provide high-quality, comparable information that can be trusted by investors. In Asia, we noted that most of the countries are adopting or adapting these standards. So like in Indonesia, since 2010, we are already implementing accrual accounting. And it's also shown that Indonesia also produce high quality financial statement. There's the audited financial statement of Indonesia has been unqualified in the past years. I mean, probably since 5 or 6 years. Yeah. Next, please. And then reporting on service delivery performance by applying recommended practice like RBG3, which is issued by IPSAS, and reporting service performance. This is complying with the IPSAS 24 on presentation of budget information in financial statement. This is already shown also by Ministry of Finance, with you can see it from the website that when Ministry of Finance always show the budget presentation and the performance regularly. And then compliant with IPSAS also provides high quality information to credit rating, like Standard & Poor, which enable country to attract global markets and investors. Yeah, in this case, in public sector, especially to purchase government bonds. Equally essential is using international standard of Supreme Audit Institution. You know that SPKN, Standar Pemeriksaan Keuangan Negara, is also in line with the ISAI, this is provide assurance and enhance trust of the information produced by the government. Next. So, on the second questions, good governance enhance investor trust, as is essential for development. In the World Bank, we have what we call the worldwide governance indicators. You can Google, that provide guidance on good guidance for the country governance. There is an information on the 6 dimension of governance that are measures related to the voice of accountability, governance effectiveness, regulatory quality, rule of law, control of corruption and political stability, and absence of violence and terrorism. There is a comparison on WGI for Asian countries in the next slides. So I'm not going to show it to you, all. You can always Google this, and this is like provide you with a benchmark on how the presentation of the government, each of the governance indicator. Okay, next, Mbak. And then next. We don't have to, okay, thank you. Okay, and still on number 2 questions, the discipline of the execution is essential to implement large-scale transformation sustainability investment. To achieve this, there is efficiency, constraint in public investment, and institutional and implementation arrangement. Methodology, human capacity, and information system is important. And furthermore, there is also efficiency in a procurement system, and e-procurement and strong asset management is necessary. There is also, from the bank, recommend that the country consider conducting a public investment management assessment, PIMA. This is prepared by IMF. I noted that Indonesia already entered into this assessment in 2019 and has been following up the progress on improvement and monitoring by IMF. Okay, next. Regarding transparent progress, there is also an index on OBI, which is a global survey done by International Budget Partnership since 2006. This is also a good practice. This is an open budget survey, uses a methodology to evaluate whether government provide public access to budget information, allow meaningful citizen engagement in the budget process, and have effective institutions like legislature and supreme audit institution to oversee government finance. The survey aims to encourage government to adopt more open and accountable budget system by identifying areas of improvement to enhance public trust. Okay, next. So the last one, on the accountant's integrity, the fraud and corruption corporate scandal, we know that this is not only happened in South Africa, like for example, it's also happened closely within the ASEAN and closely in our country. So this might harm the people and determine of market job opportunities and economic. Next. So given this challenge, the integrity of accountants has increasingly become important to account for public funds, delivery services, and increase of public trust. The International Federation of Accountants, IFAC, promotes a code of ethics issued by International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants, IESPA. There is an international code of ethics for professional accountants that are used by professional accounting organizations. And I believe IAI also have a code of ethics Akuntan Indonesia, which all of us, all the members have to comply to them. And then the fundamental principle within the Code of Integrity, Objective and Professional Competence and Due Care, confidentiality and professional behavior. This should be helped to mitigate the increased risk of fraud and corruption and corporate scandals. So that's from I hope I manage your expectation and able to respond to all the questions that was posed to us for response. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Novira. I underline two interesting points from Ibu Novira presentation. The first one is that from a financial performance and sustainability perspective, adopting accrual-based IPSAS can provide high quality, comparable information that can be trusted by investors. The second one is content integrity is a key differentiator that reduce investor uncertainty amid heightened scrutiny from financial statement fraud and corporate scandals. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the last but not least, our panelist, Mr. Ahmad Adib Susilo. He will deliver about the accountability in the age of innovation, redefining assurance, oversight, and public trust. Mr. Adib, the time is yours.
Thank you, Pak Arif. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a big honor for me to be here joining the seminar with critical themes, reinventing public sector's practices. I'm here representing the Audit Board of Republic of Indonesia, or BPK. And this afternoon, I'd like to share with all of you and I want to present how BPK, how my office, the Supreme Audit Institution in Indonesia, leverage innovation to enhance audit, public sector audit, while also strengthening public trust. Yeah. And also maybe I will cover some issues regarding how BPK promotes the efficiency and effectiveness of government programs. Some of them are funded by the World Bank, I believe. Yeah. Next slide, please. This is a picture of power sharing in Indonesia, yeah. And fortunately, BPK is one of the power holder in Indonesia, especially in power of auditing. Yeah. As we can see on the screen, under Article 23E of Indonesia Constitution, BPK is established, yeah, in order to examine the management and the accountability of state finance. So it is declared in the Indonesia Constitution, and the audit is done in free and independent manner. Yeah. So to fulfill this mandate, BPK has one headquarter in capital city, and also we have representative offices in every province in Indonesia. So up to now we have 38 regional offices. This to ensure nationwide coverage of our audit works. So from Aceh in the west until Papua in the east, we have offices. And next slide, please. This is maybe a common question in our community. Why accountability is matter? Why accountability matter? Yeah, like what other panelists said before. Especially in this era, in the era of innovation, in the era of transformation, digital transformation. I mean, yeah. I think we have the same answer, which is trust. Yeah, because we need trust. Trust in public institution hinges on credible assurance, like Bu Fira discussed earlier, accountant integrity, similar. Yeah. And in auditing financial statements, our office, BPK, ensures the financial management and also the accountability of government ministries, government agencies, government institutions, government bodies, and also the state-owned enterprises are solid and transparent. Actually, since 2016, 9 years ago, yeah, the central government financial statements, LKPP in Indonesian, yeah, and the report of Indonesia Finance, awarded unqualified opinion by our office, by BPK. So it demonstrates that the government always improve the management of state finance. Next slide, please. Yes. Instead of, in addition of auditing financial statement, we also do performance audit and compliance audit, or we call in Indonesia special purpose audit. For this year 2024, we produced 511 audit reports. And this report identified several problems across various ministries, institutions, also local governments and state and local owned enterprises. This problem spans from non-compliance, weaknesses in internal control, and also 3E deficiencies, economy, effectiveness, and efficiency deficiencies. As we can see on the screen, on the graphic, we can learn that of more than 40% of the problems regarding the efficiency, the weaknesses of internal control system. And we know that if we found weaknesses in internal control system, it may lead to another irregularities, maybe fraud, or also maybe lead to uneconomical inefficient and also ineffective programs. That's why rigorous audit by BPK is essential to ensure that all government spendings are in better way. Next, please. Now, this is the innovation we have done. BPK has implemented integrated systems, application systems, digital transformation to support our work, to support the audit business process. We have a number of applications, but among them, the two are flagship system, which are SIAP. SIAP stand for Standardized and Integrated Audit Process. This system unifies our audit works from planning, audit fit work, quality control process, and also reporting into single platform. We also have another flagship system, which is BDIX, stand for Big Data Analytics for audit, and we applies the BDIX applies machine learning algorithm to process million of government transaction in our audit works. Yeah. And next slide, please. Also, we do innovation on standard and methodology, as Bu Fira juga mentioned earlier, that we align our standard with the ISAI. Also, we employ the methodology provided by IDI in auditing SDGs. So we employ ISEM, the SDGs audit model. So in addition to employing sophisticated application, we also improving the audit standard and methodology. Next, please. Also, we engage in a number of international collaborations. As we can see on the screen, that we active in TOSE, ASOSE, ASEANSE, also Site 20 engagement. And by joining this organization or platforms, I believe that BPK remains at the forefront of global audit innovation. Next. This is another example of international collaboration. We provide colleagues from other sites with training in our academy in Bali, mostly regarding the sustainable issue. Yeah, we can see on the screen. We do training on fishery, on what else you can see, and then. Next slide, please. This is our role in promoting efficiency, effectiveness, and also economy of the government program. We do oversight role, we do insight role, and also we do foresight role. Yeah. Next, please. And also we do alignment between our strategic planning with the government national priorities. We call it Astacita in Indonesia, Sanskrit language. We do alignment so we can help government in promoting efficiency, economy, effectiveness of their program by giving impactful recommendation as the result of our audit works. So this is maybe an example of collaboration between BPK and government. Next. Okay, this is an example of our audit works. Next. And at the end, I would like to call all of us here, especially the accounting and audit community, to first strengthening data quality and governance framework. It is essential for our community. And then I'll also call for developing advanced audit methodologies for innovation and sustainability. And also I call for building capacity together through knowledge sharing and training. And I believe that if we can do this together, we can ensure that public sector innovation, digital transformation, and sustainability initiative proceed with credible oversight and public trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adib. I note some minimal two interesting point from Mr. Adib presentation. The first one is BPK maintains audit standard and methodology remain aligned with global development by adopting the international standard of Supreme Audit Institution, ISS EI from Intosai, and the IDI SDGs audit model or ISAM from the ID. The second one is BPK is active in international forums such as the Intosai, ASOSAI, ASEAN-SAI, and SAI 20, collaborative network with dozens of SAI worldwide. Through this platform, saya share experience, co-develop audit methodologies, and strengthen collective capacity to enhance the efficiency in public sector. All right, now we'll move to the Q&A session. I think I open the Q&A, the question from the floor. Please raise your hand and state your name and your organization and to whom the question is asked. No one? Okay, so I represent the floor. Will ask a question to Ibu Novira. How can Indonesia accelerate the transition toward global public sector financial management and accounting standard while maintaining contextual relevance?
Okay. Thank you, Pak Ari, for the question. This is additional question, ya, Pak? Okay. Firstly, of course, we need to comply with the global practice standards like IPSAS, ISAI, IIA, IAASB. So all the standards that is updated regularly. So then by complying with all the standards, then it means that the public sector financial management and accounting standards, we are keep on upgrading ourselves, the profession. And then at the World Bank, we have what we call public financial accountability and financial analysis, which is conducted for all countries, PEFA, and then it provides rating for all the aspect on the public financial management. So this assessment always used as a reference for all donors, and if a good performance in this rating provides also guidance for all for countries. So this is the second things. And then thirdly, there is ethical standards, IESPA, that all the accountants need to uphold to accelerate the transition towards global public sector financial management. And then fourthly, and we have to also keep updating the training curriculum and certification for all the IAI members. So the material have to be updated, and then we have to, the profession have to continuously looking for best practice and dare to be the leader. And of course, it means that we continually evolve in line with the global development. Also, yeah, like with the AI in place, so how to cope with the AI as a accountant professions. So I hope I respond to your question, Pak Arief.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Novira. The next question to Mr. Rofianto from MOF. What is the mechanism can embed sustainability into budgeting, performance measurement, and reporting across ministry and local government, Pak?
Okay. Thank you for the question ya. I think continue improvement ya and also innovation in budget planning, executing, reporting is very important. However, as already been mentioned, how we could monitor and evaluate the performance is very important. That's why in this case ya, the Ministry of Finance, we regularly publish our budget realization, budget performance, and also the result of key target indicator of each line ministry. And to achieve performance evaluation, it is very important that we use application. We try to digitalize the process. And the budget process already start from the proposal from the line ministry for project, for the activity, and then continue with the budget allocation. And of all of this budget process, yeah, already being digitalized using application through Krishna, Sakti, and then when monitoring, we implement OMSPAN, online monitoring for the budget execution. We hope that performance measurement, yeah, for each level of activity, yeah, from the line ministry and then to the program activity, we could review the effectiveness and the efficiency of the program. So basically, how we could integrate and link it, yeah, the activity from planning, budget execution, yeah, and also monitoring and evaluation is very important if we want to improve the performance of the budget execution. And then the performance of budget execution is very important if we want to achieve the development agenda. We have target. So how we should achieve the target, it is very important if we could collaborate, yeah, intensively with the land ministry and also from the planning agency, from the Bapenas. So I think that's the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Rofianto. I got a message from Panitia that we only have 5 minutes, but I have to make fair. So I asked Pak Adip one question, but please answer in maximal 2 minutes, Pak. Pak Adip, how can collaborative reform between Ministry of Finance, BPK, and World Bank enhance institution efficiency and nationwide across sustainability impact?
Hard question, but you only give me 2 minutes. I don't know how to answer. Okay, Pak Arief. Actually, if we are talking about collaboration between BPK and government, as well as with World Bank, we need to go back to the Constitution, Article 23E, which states that BPK conduct audit in a free and independent manner. So this is a baseline, yeah. But we have to find solution how to collaborate, how to improve efficiency, effectiveness, economy, how to promote accountability, how to foster transparency. That's the goal. That's why I believe that we can collaborate effectively between BPK government, respected by Ministry of Finance, and also with the World Bank. The collaboration may be in the context of audit works. Yeah, we can have in-depth discussion, so we can find the problem, the real problem of the program, for example, and then we can find the best solution to cope with the problem. I call this recommendation with smart, beneficial, and impactful recommendation. So we BPK should give a government with the smart, specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound, beneficial, and impactful recommendation. So we can help nation, we can help public, and we can achieve the national priority agenda. And the second way of collaboration may be in terms of capacity building, Pak Arief. Yeah. As we know that actually ministries, institutions, government bodies, and as well as local government has internal auditor. They are the partner of BPK, the real partners of BPK. So it is necessary for us to improve the competence and also the capability of internal auditors. When we have strong internal auditor, I believe that we also have program where effective program, efficient program, as well as we will have transparent and accountable governance state finance management. So I think at least that two, Pak Arief, is an example of collaboration between BPK, government, and the World Bank. Maybe one second, Pak Arief. Actually, we also did audit on loan and grant financial statement funded by the World Bank, and also if World Bank asks us to do a special audit regarding the loan or the grant they give to our government, we will do it. For example, 2 years ago, we did a special audit asked by the World Bank to reveal some misconduct or non-compliance activities. I think that's it, Pak Arief. Thank you.
Okay, okay, Pak Adip. I think I will not summarize all of the material because I already underline the interesting point for each of the presenter. So, ladies and gentlemen, finally, now we have reached the end of the panel discussion. I would like to thank you for all of the presenter for your deep insight and great presentation, and also for the audience for your participation. Thank you very much for your attention and have a great day. Thank you.